to rally support to impeach the President of the United States of America.
USA! You have no logical base for what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think he's a traitor.
Why is he a traitor?
He so much as admitted collusion with Putin on the election.
Any other reasons?
Well, I mean, he's lied to the public. Not that that's necessarily impeachable, but I think it all adds up to a serious indictment of his presidency.
Their cry-bully tactics, led by Texas Representative Al Green, failed in every aspect.
When I announced that I was going to bring impeachment articles against the president, there were some people who made ugly comments. People have threatened my life, but I want to assure you that no amount of intimidation, no amount of threats, nobody will stop this movement. We will march on. It's about the fact that in the richest country in the world, no one should work full-time and live below the poverty line. In the United States of America, every person ought to have health care.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period.
But for the average person, many of folks who don't have health insurance initially, they're going to have to make some choices, and they might end up having to switch doctors.
How in the world can this be HIPAA compliant? Which HIPAA is designed to protect the patient's privacy, and this explicitly says, in order to continue, you have to accept this condition that you have no privacy or no reasonable expectation of privacy.
3 different people were given access to her account, her address, and her social security number.
And John Kerry said, no, we're going to tax your health insurance. We're going to tax those evil insurance companies. We're going to impose a tax that if they sell health insurance that's too expensive, we're going to tax them. And conveniently, the tax rate will happen to be the marginal tax rate under the income tax code. So basically, it's the same thing. We just tax the insurance companies. They pass it on higher prices. That offsets the tax break we get. It ends up being the same thing. So a very clever, basically exploitation of the lack of economic understanding of the American voter.
Let us organize in local communities. Let us go to our churches, our civic clubs, and let us let others know that in this country, no one is above the law, and when you're above the law, the people will demand your impeachment. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. God bless America, land that I love. U.S. U.S.
5 seconds remaining.
What does it say, liberals, when the seditious George Soros-paid Antifa group's uncharacteristic absence reveals that your numbers are as non-existent as any valid argument you may have had for impeachment? John Bound for Infowars.com.
Get ready, folks. We're coming back. This weekend, ladies and gentlemen, they sent the old Antifa folks, the anti-fascists, who really are the fascists, out in mass, Soros-funded, to try to physically assault people and shut down free speech. But patriots all over the United States were there backing their faces and outnumbered them. From the videos I've seen in New York and Austin, Texas, and California, Los Angeles, were 5-1, 10-1, 15-1. There's a report by John Bound up on Infowars.com that breaks all of that down. Where to start? First off, I want to open the phones up today, here on July 3rd, 2017, on this Monday edition. And I want to walk through the unmitigated, delusional deception that we have seen from the controlled corporate dinosaur press. It is simply incredible. over the weekend, Trump tweets out, I guess late Saturday night, a video graphic that had been out for days on Reddit, a composite of his famous WWE appearance where he smacks down in theater, it's not real, Vince McMahon, who's one of his personal friends, another fellow Republican. Someone stuck a CNN logo over Vince McMahon's head, and then Trump beats him down. Trump retweets this. It's obviously a joke. It's theater. WWE is theater. This is well known. It's nothing compared to Kathy Griffin simulating cutting his head off. It's nothing compared to Time Warner and CNN financing a play where Trump is killed Julius Caesar style, or the New York Times or the Washington Post editorialist saying someone needs to kill Trump, or the BBC, the London Guardian, praising the young British man that went to Nevada to a rally and grabbed the gun away from the officer and tried to kill him. I mean, there has been such a cacophony, such a crescendo, such a symphony of calling for violence against Trump and his supporters, and WikiLeaks, where we catch Hillary financing groups to go violently attack Trump supporters dressed as Bernie supporters. That way her enemy Bernie gets discredited, that way Trump gets discredited. They are completely and totally out of control, beating war drums 24/7. And then Trump tweets out a clear joke, and Keith Olbermann climbs out from under his failed rock and calls for Trump's impeachment. Bernstein comes out and says top military leaders are questioning Trump. That's coup talk.
Prepare for battle.
We have CNN saying it's an incitement to violence. We have senators coming out saying that he's weaponized distrust. No, you have made us distrust you, MSM. Now, if you look at MSM numbers, they're down over 90% in the last 20 years or so. They've kind of had a dead cat bounce the last 2 years because this is a real election. And this is a real resurrection of America. This is a real president. Whether you agree with some of his policies or not, he really is calling the shots. He really is his own man. He really has fired every lobbyist for the first time ever. Nobody's done that. He really has lost confidence in all this new money in the stock market and 300 billion in new jobs and thousands of companies announcing they're coming back. And he really is going against the tide of global consolidation and collapse. Can he win? Can we win? That's up to us and up to God and our prayers and our action. But the special interests that have hijacked this nation and much of the world, who believe they own us, they are having conniption fits. And they are beating the war drums steadily, steadily, steadily. They get more frantic. They are now in total hissy fit.
The battle started.
And they are out there attacking people, and they are out there burning things, and they're out there overturning police cars and shooting cops in the back. I mean, everybody knows what they're pushing and what they're doing and what they're saying.
Yes.
From Madonna saying blow up the White House to Mickey Rourke saying, you know, he wants to kill Trump, to just all of it. It is a non-ending crescendo. They're trying to get the libertarian, right-wing, Americana movement. There's a very diverse group of people that just want prosperity and freedom and don't want to be Venezuela, don't want to be North Korea. They're trying to get us into violent action. They're failing. And so now they're going into hysteria mode. Now, why did Trump tweet this? Was he right to do it? Absolutely. They're the ones calling for stabbing him to death. They're the ones calling for chopping his head off. They're the ones turning universities into total brainwashing camps where no whites are allowed. I mean, I see like 10 articles a day in my stacks that I don't even get to, where top professors are saying no white should be allowed on campus, whites are inherently evil, all whites should be killed. If you have a white baby in your uterus, kill it. Whites are inherently the problem. This is the norm on these insane asylums that have been set up by the government in its move to create balkanization and a segregated society. That's what they're doing. Politically segregated. And so they can then create such racial fervor and bullying that if you don't totally understand what political correctness is, on a week-by-week basis, the latest download, you will be demonized. You will be ostracized. You don't just think they have Rachel Maddow and Tom Brokaw and all these other people on the news with no proof calling me deeply racist for no reason. Of course there's no proof. They don't care. The message is, we will call you anathema. We will call you a heretic. We will call you a devil worshiper. We will call you a witch. A witch, witch, witch. Like a Monty Python skit. Well, here's the news. I don't care if you call me a witch or a heretic. I don't care if you use your magic word, racism. First they weaponize the N-word and create pain and division with it. Then they can move on to every other word and ban family or mother or father that's banned on entrance forms at almost all public schools in the United States. See how far they've taken us with the brainwashing. See what they've done. But Trump is going hardcore. In fact, scroll back down. Let me read some more of these tweets that the media can't stand. My use of social media is not presidential. It's modern-day presidential. Make America great again. That's right. Trump's breaking with the controlled, sequestered system where the president is held captive by the bureaucracy. They're saying things like, what is Trump going to do? We can't let him talk to Putin alone, even though that's normal for presidents to do. Why, he's a traitor if he does. He also said, I'm the president and they're not. Attacks media at face value. I'm going to play it all today. First off, here is the audio and video of Trump and the supposed smackdown that has them calling for Trump's head yet again. How dare you when we call for your death systematically and try to organize it, and when a congressman and cops get shot, and how dare you when CNN says this guy wasn't evil that shot the congressman's police, and how dare everybody say the young man that tried to kill Trump's a hero. On and on and on, and then he retweets out somebody's joke where he slams CNN. They've declared war. He jokes back. It's like Kathy Griffin. He says, you know, you ought to be ashamed of yourself simulating my murder and upset my son. She goes, oh, he hurt me. He crushed me. It's like the fakest crying I've ever seen. Like when you catch the 4-year-old with the whole box of crackers and the whole box of candy, or the whole box of whatever they've grabbed and drug under their bed. They're eating it before dinner. And they start, oh, Kathy. It's so bizarre to see how delusional they are that we don't see how hypocritical it is when you run around saying murder everybody 24/7. Kill everybody that you disagree with. Call them all these horrible names. Call them Hitler. Call them, you know, the KKK. And then they can't even have a joke. But here's that video. Very exciting videos. You can see, ladies and gentlemen. It's a miracle our computers don't crash more often. This is one we're going to me, but you can bet when we come back from break, we're going to come in and we're going to air it. It's just like 15, 20 seconds of crowd cheering and YouTube, video of this horrible Again, if you're a radio listener, you've probably already seen this clip. The clip's up on Infowars.com. It's been out since Saturday night. Let me just stop there. Going to play the original President Man, where Trump is shaving his head as much more, just so folks have context. But this shows where our country's gotten to, that they now have 20-plus Democrats signed on to begin impeachment proceedings of President Trump. And they're adding to the reason why that he's incited violence. They're the ones calling for Trump's head. Again, this is the incredible, total, and almost complete hypocriticalness of these individuals that we're dealing with. We have to continue to just laugh at them and let them know we understand you're the fake news. I mean, just the New York Times last week had to admit that 17 agencies didn't unanimously agree that Trump was working with the Russians, or the Russians messed with our elections. Turns out it's all a fraud. Just like every scientist you have about climate change being man-made. None of that was true. Or global warming being man-made. None of it's true. They lie. They're having to retract every few hours now. All these stories because they're a pack of lying scum that have all agreed to get together and double down their fraud. Ladies and gentlemen, life is but a dream, isn't it? Here we are broadcasting worldwide, but a dream is vision. And life is reality. All if we work hard enough and stay focused, we can build pretty much anything. That's God's promise back in Genesis, and you now see it's true. Look at what we've done on this planet. Imagine the potential of where we can go. I think the answer is clear. It's unimaginable. It's unfathomable. Because the Bible again says, the eye has not seen, the ear has not heard what God has in store for us all. I'm a little frustrated because I haven't been on air for a few days. I'm super pent up. I have so much news to get to. Next segment, I'm going to cover it all. It is just incredible. The revelations of fake news, the violence against the American people. You don't just think they're going to overthrow Trump and then leave us alone, do you? This is a total fight. And I was so pleased to see videos from all over the country, including videos that our reporters shot in 2 different cities. And the reports are on Infowars.com showing 5-to-1, 10-to-1 patriots out on the streets peacefully against the Antifa and the Black Lives Matter, George Soros, cop-killing scum.
Yeah, level 4. That shit, that's cool.
Does that mean the cops are perfect? Absolutely not. But Soros is scum. His supporters are scum. I've been around them. They can hardly talk coherently. We're going to play some of these reports from Owen Schroyer coming up. These people literally are the trash of the planet. Coming up in the next segment, here's just an example of what's coming up. This just broke on Infowars.com. Daria found it. Get down to the story on it. This is what we're talking about coming up. History Channel tweets George Washington fighting at Gettysburg. Fake news. History Channel tweeted out a picture of George Washington to celebrate the Battle of Gettysburg, 1868. Isn't that just amazing, ladies and gentlemen? This shows how there's just a general breakdown in the low information of voters, but it gets more amazing. Remember our report from June 19th, last month? More wildlife fish are experiencing intersex. What could be causing this? Estrogen mimickers. This is our report. What's in the news today? London Telegraph. Fish becoming transgendered from pill chemicals being flushed down household drains. So are frogs. I'd have heard that somewhere before. The point is, we went off the U.S. Geological Survey and the Fish and Wildlife Agency. We just get stuff directly from the agencies. 9 times out of 10 or more often, you know who told us fluoride was causing brain damage? The EPA. Their scientists, almost unanimously, a few didn't sign on. In the 80s, the 90s, and again in the 2000s, 3 separate times, they sent letters to their boss saying, hydrofluoric acid is not down fluoride. It's deadly poison. It's an adjuvant. It makes every other drug in the water work many, many times more stronger. Get it out, get it out, get it out. What do they do? They just say they're complete liars and scum. I have this directly from Fish and Wildlife. We publish it, Infowars.com.
You really should look at your bottom tower.
Mike Barrett. We broke this. Right on. A week and a half later, it's all over the news. We are forcing this out. With the scientists, we put out the reports, we pick up their direct reports directly from government, put it directly out to you, and they say it doesn't exist. But see, they can't hold it back anymore because we have such a powerful hit because of you. You are the punching power of Infowars. When you tweet articles, when you get articles out, you get videos out. It's all coming up. I'm going to finish up with Trump, the demonizations of him and the attempts to shut him down and where this is going and how Soros is trying to start a civil war. It's all coming up. Start of the next segment, then I'm getting in with the huge news. First off, briefly, we're totally supported. I've decided to extend free shipping throughout InfoWarsStore.com throughout the month to celebrate the birth of this country. The fact that we're kicking off the Second American Revolution, an info war against Soros and the globalist violent attempts They're trying to frame us for the violence right now and brand us for the violence that everybody knows they've been gearing up for, but they think you're that stupid. They're trying the mind game to blame Trump and InfoWars and work. They blame the police get the show. No, that was a libtard did that. But I am extending the 4th of July special at least a few weeks. A lot of these items are going to sell out, so we can't. The Myco ZX antifungal probiotic is amazing. Anti-candida, yeast, you name it. It is back in stock. 30% off. You get it with our Biome Defense, 50 million live cultures per pill. It's amazing. These two go together like a horse and carrot. 20% more each caplet, or 20% more each bottle. Wow! 30% off No Vitality, 30% off Survival Shield X2, 30% off Z-Shield, 30% off. That's a new anti-heavy metal detoxifier. It's all available. InfoWarsStore.com. Your purchase makes it all possible, but a lot of these are about to sell out. Okay. If you just joined us, obviously you know the big national controversy is that Trump tweeted Saturday night a little 20-second video where somebody had photoshopped the CNN logo. Fellow billionaire Vince McMahon, who I think is incredibly entertaining. It's just that, it's entertainment. And it shows Trump then going after CNN. Now this is after CNN sponsored Shakespeare in the Park with a clear Donald Trump as the president with American flags, with his wife, Melania, a model that looked just like her, talked the same, stabbing him with the crowd, cheering and yelling with the background of flags. The guy with big orange hair, looks like Donald Trump, fighting for his life, big celebration. Kathy Griffin, image of Trump's head chopped off. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party did back ISIS and Al-Qaeda in the Arab Spring, so it fits together. And they want to bring them into our country. And then literally hundreds and hundreds of editorials and writers from the Washington Post, the New York Times, the LA Times, Newsweek, everyone's seen the headline daily. Reporter for this calls for Trump's death. Reporter for that calls for Trump's assassination. This Hollywood producer says he's going to kill Trump. On and on and on. And the big controversy of nothing being done about it. And Facebook pages about let's kill Trump with 300,000 likes. And just deadening silence when he was a candidate right through to where he is now, been in office 6.5 months. And what's crazy is the 401ks, the stocks, the salaries, the hourly pay is all up from what it was 2 years ago. The average liberal is making more money. Liberal media has gone from almost no viewers to coming back and getting some viewers, and they even admit a lot of it is from Trump, if not all of it. Making things interesting again. Boy, I know our listeners, last year, we kept most of that doubling, so they better have gotten some listeners and viewers. Now remember, they went from 10 million viewers on average on MSNBC a decade ago to one of their big shows having 1 million. So they've gone from 100,000, 200,000 per show to 500,000, 1 million. So they're still shadows of them former selves. But still, we're tuning back in because the news is interesting. We knew both parties were controlled previously. Now we know there's a real fight going on. And America can't get enough of it. It feels like America's back in the game because we are back in the game. But I knew this would happen yesterday when I saw it. In fact, I thought about having our crew put Hillary's head on this man, but then they said I was threatening Hillary. I wish no harm against Hillary. I want to de-escalate the violence, but they're the ones calling for it. They're the ones calling for resist. They're the ones pushing and funding the Antifa that's lockstep pushing violence, hitting people over the head with clubs and bike locks and all the rest of it. So we knew it was coming. Here's a clip. I'll describe it for radio listeners. Someone has now put on the head of the referee from a WWE, where the referee knocks down Trump, all simulated, the Justice Department seal. So again, will this be decried by the MSM? Absolutely not. Will it be decried by Trump supporters? No. Clearly it's a joke. Here it is. be the end of the world. In fact, I'm going to have to prove Aaron Green. Trump's 4 or 5 appearances on WWE. We all, I know, favored now. And let's go in a fight where Hillary knocks down Trump and Trump knocks down Hillary, and both of them get knocked down. No, it's a joke. Politics is political fighting. That's what it is. And the question is, should we be freaked out about it? No, not when it's a joke, but when it's Democrats calling for him to be killed and people getting into events he's at, grabbing cops' guns, and the media praising the person trying to kill Trump, and the media calling for violence against Trump supporters, and I'm not defending violence against Trump supporters. It's insane to have them act like hurt babies.
Do it.
I know I always call you guys Crew does a great job. Try to cue it up later to specifically, or maybe edit it in later video. The actual clip of Kathy Griffin sobbing and fake crying and saying, all I did was put on a highly graphic deal of his bloody head severed. It looked like Trump. All I did was go along with the media calling for his death, and then he called it disgraceful. How dare him be calling for his death? It's so rich, but it shows the delusional world these people live in, where they go out and do things and then don't expect you to live in a world of logic where you point out you're the ones that started this. You're the ones that called for the violence. You're the ones that are constantly pushing this narrative and trying to open our borders up to the most barbaric, evil people the world's ever seen. And then when we even stand up for ourselves in any way, you cry uncle and roll over and start screaming like you're all being killed. Now, let's go ahead and get to some of the clips that have got them so upset about Trump. White House aide, the fake news complex is collapsing. Sebastian Gorka lays it all out.
He's really here.
Trump tweeted, "I'm extremely pleased to see that CNN is finally exposed fake news and garbage journalism. It's about time." Trump also tweeted that maybe fake news isn't the right term, but fraud news or criminal news. Trump also says, "What are they trying to hide?" Trump questioned states refusing to show voter ID information. You know why? They've already done a study. They sampled 10,000 people from voter rolls, and they found a percentage that is compared to the general election and voting rolls. 5.7 million illegals that voted, not to mention people voting in the names of dead people. It's a well-known Democratic Party operation for 100 years. So keep the newspapers, see who's died, just then go check the voter roll, and then give those names. Normally about 10 people, 10 dead people are given to each person that votes illegally, and they go around to different precincts, and that's what they do. The average is 10 times. We have Democrats on video in New York and D.C. and other areas, top-level Democrats saying, "We're organizing the biggest fraud ever, F Trump." And they almost stole the election. 5 states were stolen, almost stole 6 others. Homeland Security under Obama was trying to break into the computers. State officials. Obama's answer was to say, "I signed an executive order federalizing the elections." I'm signing an executive order federalizing these elections. And now Trump's trying to defederalize all he said was the voter ID rolls. And then we want to index this just for people that are dead. And people we can run it right through the computer. And they said, no way. 50 states that are still Democrat-controlled, all of them Democrat. Now, I thought no illegals voted. I thought no dead people voted. And now more and more is coming out, even the Associated Press of Homeland Security trying to break into the computers on election night. I mean, what do you think's going on? When CNN was sampling in some of their polls, they were adding 36 percentage points in and admitting it in their methodology. Of course, Hillary was about 67% when you add 30-something% more on top of it. Because the real polls, the internal polls, the scientific polls, the big Google data polls, some of which were in the news, others of which I talked to high-level executives and high-level CIA. Trump was 20 points ahead when he came out of that Republican convention. On Election Day, in an index of internal polls, he was 14 points ahead of Hillary. 14 points. Remember, I told you all this during the election. They had thousands of articles. Lying Alex Jones says Trump's really 15 points ahead, 20 points ahead. But what happened on Election Day? Wow! Mega landslide. Despite all the fraud, he still won by the Electoral College. And then Hillary won the popular vote by 2.5 million. And then Trump came out and said, oh, big study show, 3.3. And they went, oh, Alex Jones said that. He made it up. No, I was going off Pew Research, Harvard.
Your middle tower.
George Washington Mason. They know that. They just say I make this up. So now Trump says, what are they trying to hide? Yes, the fake news complex. That's what it is. It is the fake news complex of the special interest is imploding. Does it mean we're going to make some perfect world after this? No. Remember Trump didn't believe the polls? Because Trump had internal scientific polls. Trump had access to the Bloomberg database. Trump had access to the Google database. You can buy access to that. They tried to deny it. Let me give everybody a newsflash. Trump got around it with his corporate contacts that already have access to those databases that can predict the future with all the... You don't just go to Amazon for 3 years and predict with 99% what you're going to order before you even order it.
Oh shit, that's fast.
And they have it already packaged, waiting to be shipped by their robots. Oh yeah. They can predict it all.
Let's gank with that.
Up to the day of the election, they said she was going to win by 10 points in a landslide. 14 to 16 points, depending on the internal data poll. And folks, these are polls on what people click, their cookies, where they go, and what they're texting, and indexes of what's in your email. Humans aren't looking at this. AI, supercomputers are. Your Google is why do you think Google and Facebook were all panicking and doubling and tripling their money and going into complete hysteria mode, saying she was invincible? There was no way she could be stopped because they knew Trump had a massive lead and they couldn't take it away from him. Wow! Watching and listening to you through your smartphone. Efficient amphibians caused by estrogen-mimicking runoff. I told you about global government and the OECD and the TPP. I told you about TPP 11 years ago when they first had the secret meetings. And that's why they hate us and they look for any excuse of anything a guest says or anything somebody else says, or they misrepresent what I say and what I stand for.
You're the man.
Realize what the real ball game is and getting involved in your life and actually changing the future destiny of the world for a future destiny for humanity, not for these globalists. We've already decided the future doesn't need us. Now, I'm going to get more into Trump. I'm going to get into all these clips where Trump comes out and says they think they're president, they're not president, they lost, we won, that's why they're panicking. We're going to go over all those clips. But first off, let me show you the anatomy of how they engage in all of this deception. Okay? If you're a radio listener, I'll break it down. If you're a TV viewer, obviously you can see this. Infowars.com/show. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter feeds. If you're watching on those feeds, please share the feed. Every time you watch, that's an active resistance. That's how we get around their computers. That's how we get around their systems blocking the video being shared. That's how we reach more people. Just like if you're listening on a local AM or FM station. Tell folks how they can hear the show. That's the active resistance. That's the people overpowering the supercomputers, overpowering the Googles and the Facebooks that think you're a bunch of dumb efforts. You're showing them. This is the anatomy of how we force truth out into the mainstream. Here's a Mike Barrett story. Wildlife fish endocrine disruptors threatening reproduction in fish and frogs. U.S. Geological Survey and the Fish and Wildlife Service covered the fact that 19 national wildlife what could be causing this? This is USGS research biologist. Now, what happens is, in the past, private and governmental scientists will release the truth about fluoride, about bisphenol A, about all these other chemicals. And the media was my listeners, my writers, our researchers would point this out. I would then mention it on air. They would edit it down to sound insane, hoping to inoculate you psychologically so that when all of this affects you and your family, you'll never get upset about it and just accept it because you don't want to be ridiculed. So before you ever learn about it yourself, they want to inoculate you that, oh, look, Alex Jones, he turned his face green, he's talking about green frogs, talking about gay frogs. This guy's insane, don't listen to him. Here are the folks who continue to tell you about it first. 20-plus years ago. The good news is that people are learning about nitrogen chemicals in rare ink, plastic, folks are learning about it now in thousands of publications a month, and there's a huge awakening to it. But what does Stephen Colbert do? What does Stephen Colbert do? This is so important. Let's skip this one, bro. Fish are experiencing intersex. What could be causing this? So here's our article from 14 days ago, June 19th. You can go read the link to the U.S. Geological Survey and to the Fish and Wildlife Services. Okay. Now, here's another one. Here it is out of the London Telegraph. This is July 2nd. This is yesterday on Sunday, the London Telegraph. Now, they said it, so it's okay. The person that told you about it 22 years ago, he's bad, he's evil, he's fake, don't listen to him, he's racist. Listen to the London Telegraph now, because whoever tells you 22 years later the exact same info, that's who gets the awards. Okay? You know, I was watching a Joe Rogan clip when I was on the elliptical yesterday. Love Joe. And he had that Sarkod of a cod guy on who's very entertaining and funny. But they were sitting up there looking at each topic I covered. And then...
Это просто нечто.
And then... And you're like, well, Alex is actually right. There's one species of frog that has been termed trans and gay, and most of them are infertile, by one chemical. Yeah, it's benzene.
You want me to warn?
But, you know, then he projects it onto everything. No, sir, there's more than 1,000 chemicals. And it's every major mammal species, every major fish species, every major amphibian species, everywhere in the world, even the most remote areas, is becoming or is asexual, or is totally confused, or sterile, or literally have sexual organs growing on the wrong parts of their body and are mutated. I've literally read white paper documents on this for 22 years. So, but see, in a minute, 20 years. In fact, I just told them from memory, I said I thought was about a decade ago, about shrimp becoming suicidal and psychotic when Prozac runoff just out of the Mississippi River, and it's causing most of the shrimp to basically swim to the top of the birds and get eaten and die. And they're also attacking each other.
1,300.
Now, this is
expensive.
An article from 2010. This is an older one. But there's even older ones that go back to about 2001 when Fox News reported on it. See, I mean, most of this is just mainline news. Shrimp on Prozac are killing themselves. See? It's every species.
Let's talk.
Fish on Prozac prove anxious. Scientific American. Antisocial and environmental. And then that leads us to this next little tidbit. This is how, this is the anatomy of disinformation. This is the anatomy. I have Robert, who was a case officer in anti-terrorism at the CIA. That's undisputed. He has written a lot of publications, reviewed hundreds of books, and he was a well-known lecturer. He comes on, I'm talking about Deputy Pope, indicted for raping dozens of young children. Okay, that's a fact. Now, what does the media do when something like that's out? I'm covering it with a guest. For that, for 12 years, you can say anything you want about this show. I don't get into UFOs, aliens, and stuff like that because it's a distraction from things I can prove. He says, yes, not only, have they been kidnapping kids, I said, talking about Dr. Cameron, who had usually kidnapped 10,000 children for the CIA. This is on History Channel. In the 50s, 60s, and 70s, took them to Canada, where they had them in brainwashing facilities to literally create Manchurian candidates. You can search engine Dr. Ewing, Cameron, Jolly, and West. You'll get mainstream news about this. But because I'm informed, see, it's weird, it's bizarre, it's bad. He goes, yes, well, my info is they have taken children to the space program and sent them to Mars. Yeah, I know there's a bunch of people, like the granddaughter of President Eisenhower says that. A lot of people. Just because folks say it doesn't mean it's real. But I wanted him back on today, but he canceled. To challenge me on this. Because I said on air, I said, I don't know about that, I don't believe that. But I said, Buzz Aldrin told me some similar stuff about secret stuff on Mars and on the moon. And I said, I don't know if he was messing with me or not. But that got picked up by the press. So, government history of secret experimentation, everything else going on, lying to us about babies in incubators to get us into the Iraq War, all the rest of it. You should question anything they say or do. But I've never said secret moon bases or secret Mars bases. But what does the media do? They ran hundreds of articles over the weekend saying, I specifically say this. And that Trump's ally, Alex Jones, wow! Now, here's how the media man comes out. None of our on record. Alex Jones said children have been kidnapped. They at least had me saying, I don't believe it. They actually got it right. Trump endorsed me and all this. They got the NASA to have a press conference and say, I'm insane, this isn't true, when I didn't say it. Why are they psyoping against me? Why did a CIA guy say something he knew was in an end? There you go. And all I was trying to do was cover the Vatican and giant child kidnapping operations that are confirmed. Washington Post, no, NASA is not hiding kidnapped children on Mars. Goes on to say, I'm saying NASA clarified, we don't have child sex slaves on Mars. So, chemicals coming from stuff inside your water that makes you asexual, confused, violate your sexual preference. That's a fact. They don't want to debate about this, so they attack the organization that's been day one exposing. But guess what? They lost. You may make fun of me all day. You're trying to help them and everybody else because we're in this together. The good news is I'm forcing human-animal chimeras out. Oh, that's the other thing the media did. They mixed in. Jones also says that they brought the aliens back to Earth, and there's thousands of them here. No, I said, I don't believe we have a colony on Mars, but we've already, with chimeras, human-animal hybrids, created stuff that's alien here on Earth. Then I showed the Smithsonian. Then I showed science. They didn't care. They twisted it all together because they're fake, lying news. Hour number 2 coming up. We need your prayers. Spread the link, Infowars.com. Shipping right now. Michael Z. I wanted to get Robert David Steele back on the broadcast today, but he had to cancel. And I wanted to ask him, you know, out of the blue, after knowing you 12 years, and you've said nothing but credible stuff, and you were on the ground, case manager, anti-terrorism operations in the Middle East. Why would you then just on my show inject that there's a Mars slave colony of children that were kidnapped? And then I said, I don't believe that, I don't buy that. The media didn't care. And Steele's not stupid. He knows that they would then come out and say that I said that. Was it a publicity stunt? Leave it. He'll come back on, I guess, sometime in the future. Couldn't come on today. Wow! But it doesn't hurt me that the media edited that at a NASA press conference and said that I'm insane. Because I'm enemy number 1 from the globalist, and I know why. Wow! Because we do our research and we force stories out. You think there's about animal-human chimeras that deserve rights and it shouldn't be going on? It should be banned? You think they want to discuss 3,000, 4,000, 5,000% increases in breast cancers, depending on the type? You think they want a discussion and a debate about all this? I'm forcing a debate with my audience. I'm totally anti-racist because I'm pro-human race. I don't say that. I say that because I'm proud of what I stand for. You don't think that contraceptive pills just massively increase breast cancer when it's running off into the water supply and you're downstream. And the big old Mississippi comes down. And the big old Mississippi comes down and hits that delta. It comes down to Baton Rouge and comes down to New Orleans and all those other big cities. And then it's causing almost all the fish to be deformed. It's causing almost all the frogs to be deformed. And I did not see the media to pick up. Males acting like females, females acting like males. They're fried.
Your top tower.
And I'm trying to have a big debate about this. This is a biological, chemical holocaust going on. And it's not lazy companies that just don't care and they're dumping it in water. That's part of it. It's the globalists absolutely engineering the confusion of the sexes and admitting in the 60s, in major university papers I cover in Game 2.0 that's free online, where they said we're going to confuse people with chemicals in the food and water. In 1974, the outgoing White House science czar, John P. Holdren, wrote Eco-Science, where he said the same thing. Do you understand? Now, let's show them gerbils with testicles growing on top of their heads. Go ahead and show them. Just type in gerbils deformed that ate GMO corn. 3rd generation, hair growing out of their mouths, testicles on top of their heads. And I get it. Everybody plays the clips and makes jokes, and Stephen Colbert plays it, and he giggles and laughs. They know it's not funny. So I'm not even mad at Steele. The point is that it was clearly just inserted into there for whatever reason. And now it's Jones who said that, even though I never said that. I I told you the Fish and Wildlife Service exponentially is worried about there not even being any viable fish in most ponds and most rivers because they're so whacked out. And then once the genetics starts getting whacked out, it accelerates until you have a literal mutant population like out of some sci-fi movie. Yeah, there's some of the first ones. It's worse. That's second-gen rats that have been fed GMO corn. You want to show third generation, you can show the guinea pigs too. The testicles on top of the head. I know it's funny. Wait till you're dying. The second hour of Leo's Economy's coming up. But I wanted to hear a little bit of what Trump had to say at a veterans rally.
We won, and they lost. The fact is, the press has destroyed themselves because they went too far.
That's right.
Instead of being subtle and smart, they used the hatchet. And the people saw it right from the beginning. Will never keep up.
Even if they bring down Trump, which is getting harder and harder unless they kill him.
On trade, on the economy, on the Supreme Court, on the Second Amendment, on our military, for our veterans, and on our borders, where we are doing record stoppage.
Amazing. I'm the president. I got elected. You did. The special interests are becoming more and more shrill. We've got for the next 40 minutes or so, then I've got a bunch of clips. I'm going to open the phones up and take your calls for the rest of the transmission. Leo Zagami. I remember Leo Zagami 10 years ago saying that Pope Francis, head of the Jesuits, would end up being the Pope. And they'd never had a Jesuit, much less a head of the Jesuits, as the Pope.
You really should look at your bottom.
That's against the rules. Long basically compromise the Catholic Church, cause a takeover. And sure enough, a few years ago, when Ratzinger had to step down and was sent to Gandalf Castle, I'm not kidding, folks, that's the name of the castle he was sent to. It's not the Lord of the Rings. There it was in London Guardian that they used blackmail to get Francis in. But then when I traveled to Rome about a year and a half ago and met with Zagami there outside the Vatican, we also went inside, he said, listen, we're going to bring down this Pope. It's all coming out very, very soon. And so much of what he said turned out to be accurate. When I first read it 7 years ago, I thought this was impossible. And now, last week, scandalous sex abuse charges raised questions about Pope's record. Reportedly, dozens and dozens of raped and groomed over 40 years. His right-hand man, his confidant. So this is amazing. So I want to bring Leo Zagami up to talk about this internally, because he lives right there in Rome. His family's been in government. He's been involved. Has a lot of amazing contacts. Living right there in Rome, talking to the Vatican police and more. What internal war does this show? Is this part of the larger movement? I know intelligence agencies, the good factions in Europe, here, you name it, have been saying they're going after the people. That Trump has signified and signaled this. Now we see busts in the UK. We see record bust here. We're seeing it in Italy. We're seeing it all over. Leo, you talked about this when I was in Rome. I guess it was about 2 years ago now. Time flies. You said, get ready. This is going to start happening. The good guys are going to strike back. And now it's happening, or is this part of something else?
No, it's happening. Hello, first of all, to your listeners in the US, where it's happening, and it's happening clearly in front of the whole world with George Pell, but it's a rooted out of the Vatican. We had basically the police breaking inside the palace of the Holy Office, the Inquisition, the congregation of the Martyrs of Faith, basically the headquarters of the most holy office in the Vatican. The police broke in and found gay orgy, and the witness gay, and they basically and of course, nobody wanted to show the face of this priest. He's called Monsignor Luigi Capozzi, and only very few media just mentioned the name of Capozzi's boss, this Cardinal Cocco Palmieri, who started this internal conflict because Cocco Palmieri and his secretary, they are strong supporters of Pope Francis. So this is becoming an incredible scandal. And once Cardinal Pell goes back to Australia, the other scandal starts to unfold for the Anglo-Saxon world. Because for many decades of secret plans by the Vatican to give the less possible money to the pedophilia and to
give us who the different players are, Leo, because no one's laid out this intrigue like you have.
the Vatican. You can understand that this must be probably the most C9 group, which is a member in a group of 9 cardinals. Seeing in February 2014 Cardinal Pell arriving in Rome, and he didn't really hide in front of the media or in front of the other people in the Vatican. He started immediately acting with a lavish lifestyle that of course brought a lot of criticism towards Pope Francis, who wants to be this very conservative Pope who doesn't spend much money and is living in a modest surrounding, while instead George Pell was spending money, was making all kinds of things happening that were putting really in bad light